Football. Sunday Night Football. Whether you're a fan of the two teams playing, a gambler that lost their bets on Prize Picks on the more noonie games, trying to just break even, or maybe you have a guy on your fantasy football team that you need to score 30 points just to give you a chance to win against your buddy. On Sunday, September 14th, 2025, the Atlanta Falcons head over to Minnesota to face the Vikings. This game will be Minnesota's home opener, and the Vikings will be coming off a thrilling come-from-behind victory where they scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to spoil Ben Johnson's Bears coaching debut with the Bears. Making his first regular season debut, J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings had a rough start as they only had 80 total yards in the first half. After seeing only one half of McCarthy, many people were already convinced JJ wasn't going to work. And I'm not going to lie, seeing these comments now is hilarious, but people at the time were saying things like, JJ McCarthy is Zach Wilson 2.0, exactly why I don't draft JJ, and JJ not that dude for real. But in the fourth quarter, McCarthy and the Vikings offense caught fire as it first got started with JJ finding Justin Jefferson in the end zone on a 13-yard pass, then McCarthy hitting Aaron Jones in the right sideline for a 27-yard pass. And then, to put the game to bed, McCarthy took the option run himself and took the ball 14 yards to the house to make it a 2-score game with under 3 minutes left in the game, and later went on to win that game 27-24 over the Bears. The Vikings look to continue the momentum against Atlanta as the Falcons come off a close loss where Baker Mayfield hit rookie Emeka Mbuka for a 25-yard touchdown pass with less than a minute left. However, Chase McLaughlin had missed the PAT, which meant Michael Penix and the Atlanta offense still had a chance to take the game to overtime if they were able to drive down the field and get in the field goal range. And they did exactly that, even without star wide receiver Drake London, who was injured and could not finish the game. But veteran kicker Young-Ho Koo unfortunately missed a 44-yard field goal to the right as Atlanta suffered a loss in the first game of the season. Although the Falcons' ground game wasn't able to get going, averaging 2.5 yards a carry on 28 total carries, Michael Penix Jr. was able to throw for nearly 300 yards and get 2 touchdowns, one through the air on a short pass to Bijan Robinson that went 50 yards to the end zone to start the game, and another on the ground on a 4-yard rush that put him up 20-17 with around 2 minutes left in the game. Although the defense of Atlanta wasn't able to stop the Bucs, they were still in the game and had a chance to take the game to overtime. As we finish the recap of each team's first games of the season, both the Atlanta Falcons and Minnesota Vikings competed in a close game in Week 1 and looked to fix mistakes and build on positives to get the win in Week 2 of this season. And as we get ready for this matchup, we'll start with the injury report and start with the Minnesota Vikings. We see that Jeff Okudah, due to a concussion, will be out, and also due to a concussion, Andrew Van Ginkel will be out. Tackle Christian Darsall is going to be out due to a knee injury. Harrison Smith is going to be questionable as he had limited practice Wednesday and Thursday due to an illness. And it seems Josh Oliver, Isaiah Rodgers, Ryan Kelly, Miles Price, Xavier Scott, Jalen Naylor, and Elijah Williams will be expected to play. And also listed on the injury report was going to be J.J. McCarthy, but not due to an injury, but due to his son being born on Thursday. And just want to say a quick congrats to him. And as we get to the injury report on the Falcons, questionable is going to be safety DeMarco Hamlins, edge James Pierce Jr., and DB Billy Bowman Jr. Out are going to be wide receiver Jamal Agnew, safety Jordan Fuller, O-lineman Jack Nelson, and wide receiver Casey Washington. But some good news for the Atlanta Falcons, as a full participation in this Friday's practice was going to be wide receiver Darnell Mooney and wide receiver Drake London, who I have on my fantasy team, so I'm glad he's okay, and DB Billy Bowman Jr., as all three are expected to play this Friday, as all three are expected to play this Sunday night against the Minnesota Vikings. Now that we've finished going over the injuries, we'll go over what the game plan will be for both teams. First, we'll start with the Falcons. The key focus for the Falcons, if they want to compete in this game against the Vikings, is to get the ground game going with the duo of Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, as both weren't really able to get going in the loss against the Bucs. With the leading rusher being both Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson with both 24 yards each. Minnesota had allowed 119 yards rushing against the Bears on 4.6 yards a carry, so look for the Falcons to get the ground game going early to help Penix through the air. On the defensive end, the Falcons will have their hands full through the air with all-pro wide receiver Justin Jefferson, tight end TJ Hawkinson, and Minnesota's backfield of Aaron Jones and newly acquired Jordan Mason on the ground. Atlanta had allowed 3 touchdown passes from Baker Mayfield through the air last week and cannot let the young quarterback J.J. McCarthy catch fire and try to force the young quarterback to make mistakes, hopefully leading to turnovers. Now, on the other end, we'll focus on the Vikings and what they need to do in order to win this game. The Vikings will look to ride on the success of their young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, as he had surged in that fourth quarter against the Bears, and they look to him as he plays in another primetime game. Newly acquired running back Jordan Mason led the Vikings in rushing with 68 yards on 15 carries, and as they'll lean on both Mason and Jones to continue where they left off to keep a balanced attack against Atlanta defense that gave over just 101 yards on 4.4 yards a carry last week. Besides Justin Jefferson, look for Minnesota's other weapons to get involved, such as TJ Hawkinson, Jalen Naylor, and veteran wide receiver Adam Thielen to be more involved in this offense. I'll be honest, I haven't been able to really watch football all day like I used to, so I decided if I really wanted to get a more detailed preview for this upcoming game, I would have to ask each team's fan base what they thought about this upcoming matchup. First, I went to Instagram and asked a Falcons fan page that went by the name Falcons Focus about his biggest takeaway from the previous game against the Bucs. He responded by giving his biggest takeaway was going to be that despite the loss, that he felt that they finally found a quarterback for the future in Michael Penix. Then I asked what they were looking forward to seeing in the matchup against the Vikings this Sunday night. Their response was that they were going to look forward to seeing their group of guys go out and compete in a hostile environment on primetime TV without a QB that is injured, in which he'd referenced last year's game against the Vikings in Minnesota where Falcons got smoked 21-42 in a game where Cousins was hurt and threw 2 interceptions. And I just want to say a quick shout out to Falcons Focus on Instagram. I'll be linking his page in the description below, but just for taking this time to answer the questions and hopefully keep him around for next week or upcoming weeks when I get into more Falcons games. On Reddit, I asked the question what they were looking forward to the most in the Sunday night matchup against the Vikings. Outcome the Falcon on Reddit was looking forward to seeing how the team look again. After being kept in the dark throughout the preseason and plays kind of staying vanilla, he wanted to get more of the offense out there and see what's really going on in action. And even feeling a little desperate for a win, as it'd be pretty bad to fall 0-2 in the standings. Jeff Castles, on the other end, was curious to see how the O-line would fare against false starts in US Bank Stadium. Also curious to see how Penix would start against Brian Flores' notorious pressure disguises. On the Falcons end, he's curious how the new defensive back group matches up against the superstar matchup of Jefferson and Hawkinson, and see if they could try to keep the young rookie J.J. McCarthy off rhythm. I then went on the Minnesota Vikings Reddit and asked to get their point of view on what they're looking forward to most against the matchup against the Falcons. The thread first started with Neruda 1969, and pretty much he was going over how before Monday night's game, it had been a long time before JJ had played a full game of football, and was sure that he'd be full confidence ahead of this Sunday night football game. He then went on to say, inject the JJ Mad Mug Sith Lord gifts in my veins. And then as I scroll down, you see the Anakin Skywalker gif. And as you scroll down, you see the gif, but also the nickname General Ogre gave him, JJ McDarthy, which is now what we'll be calling him on this channel moving forward. But more fans pointed out that Kevin O'Connell was treating his rookie quarterback with kid gloves that in the first half against the Bears. McCarthy might have a 5-tutty game and break the league wide open. Also remember that Jefferson and Thielen were rusty and making sloppy jobs in Chicago. That won't be happening at US Bank. Others were excited to see if the fourth quarter was a fluke, and others on JJ getting his revenge. Torchius pointed out that's right. Torchius pointing out that the Falcons had passed on him in the draft. Bartsy16 was also looking forward to seeing how the defense handles a much better run offense against Bijan and Algier, and as it will be a better test than Swift in Chicago. iHyperize was also looking forward to the matchup against Atlanta's offense, as Atlanta has one of the best running backs in the league in Bijan Robinson, some great pass catchers such as Drake London and Kyle Pitts, but still wasn't 100% convinced by Penix. As he made some nice plays against the Bucs, he wants to see how he'll do against Brian Flores' defense. And finally, what Inside Cod 7111 was looking forward to most in Sunday's matchup was winning. And I just want to say a quick thank you to both the Atlanta Falcons and Minnesota Vikings fans on Reddit, as without their knowledge and takes, this part of the video wouldn't be possible. And this video took a little long to make, so I'm going to give my final prediction. It's already Saturday night. Hopefully this video gets uploaded early Sunday morning or at least before the game. After going through everything, I think I'm going to have to go with the Minnesota Vikings on this one, as I think the offense is going to just be hot after that Monday night game. And I don't know if I trust the Atlanta defense that much against this high-powered offense. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. I think Atlanta does their thing, getting Drake London, Darnell Mooney back. Bijan Robinson, I know for sure is going to have a big game after what happened last week. But yeah, it should be a fun game. I'm going to go with a final score prediction, 20-13. Minnesota wins at home. Just want to say thank you to everybody who watched the video, if anybody watched the video. And it was fun to make. And I'm going to work on recording these videos, hopefully using a better microphone next time. And I'm going to probably not sound so scripted. Maybe take notes because it's my first time doing this. And after editing it, I could hear how scripted this video sounds. So thank you for watching. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day.